Welcome to the kbbreview podcast. I'm Andy Davies and this is episode 7 of season 13, and today we're delving into the world of franchises. Now, they've been around a long time in this sector, of course, but the accelerated growth of Kutchenhaus in particular has refocused attention on the business model that combines lots of the pros of being an independent retailer with the power of a national brand. So names such as Kutchenhaus, as well as Schmidt, Kesseler, Ripples, Raison Home, the Kitchen Depot and many others are forging a whole new approach to kitchen and bathroom retail. Now, we interviewed Paul Lee from Kutchenhaus a few episodes ago, so go back and listen to that for more specifics on their head office strategy. But today you'll hear KBBreview editor-at-large Rebecca Nottingham talking to franchisees from 3 different companies and looking at why they chose this route, what the pros and cons are, and how far they think franchising can go in the KBB market. So we have a friend of the show, Trevor Scott, who runs a Kutchenhaus franchise alongside his long-standing business RFK. We have James Casey from Kesseler in Sudbury, and we have Imran Azam, who runs Ripple showrooms in Wokingham and Beaconsfield. Now, heads up, Imran's sound isn't great, but bear with it as his story and perspective is really interesting, and he was literally talking to us on his holiday from the balcony of his hotel in Monaco. How cool is that? And rather brilliantly, you can hear all the French birds singing in the background. But before all that, don't forget that entries for the kbbreview Retail and Design Awards 2025 are open. Yes, if you're a kitchen or bathroom retailer, designer, supplier or installer, we have categories for you. It's the biggest awards in the sector and it's completely free to enter. Not only that, but if you get shortlisted, you'll get 2 tickets to the event for free as well. So you really do have nothing to lose by giving it a go. The closing date is November the 14th. That's November the 14th, and there will be no extensions to that at all. What's the point to set the date if you don't stick to it? You can find out everything you need to know at kbbreview.com/awards. That link is in the episode description. Now, let's find out all about franchises with Rebecca Nottingham.
Here are our guests on the podcast. James Casey from Kesseler Sudbury.
Hi, Rebecca.
Hello, nice to have you on. Then we've got Imran Azam.
Hi, I'm Imran. I represent Ripples Bathrooms in Beaconsfield and also have another showroom in Wokingham.
Brilliant, welcome. And last but not least, we've got Trevor Scott from RFK Kitchens and Kutchenhaus Market Harborough. Hi, Trevor.
Yeah, hi, how are you doing, Rebecca?
Great, thank you. Right, so I'm just going to go straight into this. Let's start with you, James. If you can explain what your experience as a franchisee is, what the setup with Kesseler is, and what made you go down the franchise route.
Very long story short, I've been in the industry a very long time and thought it was time to branch out on our own back in 2020, December 2020. And to us seemed like probably the safest option at that time, in the sense of you've got a big company behind you, a branded company. Everyone will, for us, obviously, it's a newer franchise than most, but it will become a household name. Plus, you've got a lot of people you can lean on. And yeah, I mean, we've been going now, nearly 4 years. It's 3 members of staff here, plus 15 teams. And yeah, it's been going strength to strength. The franchise has grown with us as well. So it's quite nice in the sense of we're in the early stages of the franchise, especially as them as a franchise and us as a franchisor. And we kind of like build as we go as well. And you can see the changes they're making to improve and bring on newer people and things like that. So
okay, so you're all learning together really with the Kesseler setup.
Yeah, they're employing and taking on new people as well, new regionals. I know taking over a couple of people from Kutchenhaus and a couple of bigger brands as well. So they're taking on their learnings and what they've done and just tweaking and changing as they go. And yeah, it's growing really well. There's quite a number of us now, which is nice. And I'm sure the other guys will say as well, it's quite nice. You can reach out to the other franchises and speak to them, where as an independent, I don't know if you really could or not. So you've got like a nice network and team around you.
Imran, over to you. Same question really. Explain the setup with Ripples and really what made you go down the franchise route.
When I started out on this journey, probably about 7 or 8 years ago, I come from quite a sort of strong family business background. I've got quite a diversified experience in many sectors, mainly private. I wanted to set something up for myself. And I came across, I had my own bathrooms done first actually, just to learn. I wanted to actually get into developing, but didn't know where to start from. So I thought, let me start somewhere. I came across Ripples. It just made sense. You know, you've got, everything is very brand oriented. So a brand obviously it's got a lot more standing, whereas an independent, you've got to build from scratch. But with a brand, I think the consumer has a lot more trust and faith of taking that leap. So that was one aspect of it. Then with a brand, you've got centralized marketing, all the national awareness activities, and just the history and knowledge behind it. Knowledge was quite an important area for me, not being from within the industry, not knowing the unknown sort of thing. So I thought you've got so much knowledge and experience collectively, whereas you're going to learn so much more and probably make less mistakes through that collective knowledge. That was also quite important to me. And then in any business, whatever it is, nothing goes smoothly. So just knowing that you've got that support network there as and when you need it, that's the best thing, I think, the biggest advantage. So you're not on your own. You haven't got that on your own feeling. Whether it's which card merchant services to use price-wise or where to market, you can share that with 20 or 30 other like-minded colleagues who are doing the same thing, and you just know the decision-making process is much easier. Generally, there's a lot more learning, and I think the manufacturers also take you a lot more seriously as well as a group. But, I mean, the benefits are huge. I could go on. I mean, there's too many.
Yeah, well, we can come back to that. But just to clarify, James, obviously it's slightly different for Ripples because as far as I know, on the bathroom side, that is the only franchise operation. But for you, what was the decision behind choosing Kesseler over a brand like Kutchenhaus, for example?
For myself, it was quite important that we wanted that family-run feel and the British manufacturing and really promote and push that. Scott and Ben Slater, the MDs of Kesseler, their family work, they're very family orientated, plus the way the business is structured and run, we all kind of fell in line with our values and how we wanted to be. The British manufacturing was quite a big thing, like where we're located in Suffolk. A lot of our target market like the fact it's British, like the fact it's a family run business. So that was the biggest thing for us. Just like Imran said, the support and everything you get from it and what they were bringing to the table as deals from other brands within appliances and worktops was more than what we would probably got as an independent at that stage.
Okay. And last but not least, again, over to you, Trevor, because your story is slightly different and really interesting, actually, because you had been an independent retailer in rugby with RFK for 30 years and then decided to branch out into running your own Kutchenhaus franchise. So tell us about that. What was the decision behind opening a store as a franchise?
But it's actually our third store. We've got the rugby head office showroom, which has been there for in its current location since 2012, but in rugby since 1993. But we opened in Warwick, getting on for 10 years ago as well. And that was in partnership at that point with Nobilia, but we had other mix of products in there at the time. And at that point, the Kutchenhaus branding and the Kutchenhaus franchising model hadn't really got the legs that it has got today. So at that point in time, it wasn't really on the cards. But as an independent retailer, we recognised and understood the benefits of opening a further branch of the business, but doing it as a franchise in partnership with Nobilia. Because, as has already been mentioned by Imran and I think James as well, it's all about the brand nowadays. Back in the day, back in the past, then you set your stall out and let people know how good you are and what your offer was, principally based on the appliances that you sold, because they were what people had heard of. So, if you sold Miele, which we did back in the day, then you were pitching yourself at a certain type of client, and that was recognised. As far as the branding was concerned, nobody had really heard of the brands of kitchens that we were selling, apart from very rare exceptions such as Simatic and Povenpol. Really, kitchens as brands weren't that well known. And it was all about developing your own brand identity as an independent showroom, which in the Midlands we've done very successfully under the RFK, but that'll only get us so far. When it came to the third branch, the decision to go with Kutchenhaus, but there are multiple reasons really, but amongst them were a company and a product that we knew and were familiar with, an order processing system that we were familiar with. So there was a degree of comfort in working with them. But also the degree of traction that Kutchenhaus have established in the last 4 or 5 years, the momentum that they've got as a brand is huge, is massive. And we very much took the view that as a pre-existing dealer of the brand, Nobilia, we were better off being on the inside looking out than on the outside looking in. And if we didn't join the party might take place without us. And that had a significant amount to do with our decision-making processes.
Yeah, okay. That's really interesting, actually, because also I would imagine, Imran, again, back to this importance of branding, which is why you've chosen to go down the franchise route. Ripples are almost the bathroom equivalent of Kutchenhaus in that there's a lot of stores up and down the country. So it is a brand that consumers are familiar with, which just backs up the support for you and I guess drives footfall.
It is. I mean, the brand is so important now, and it's only getting bigger. Yeah, I think that is the future, really. I think the small independent, there is a place for an independent, but it's harder as an independent, I think. The brands are getting more and more awareness, and there's still good competition within that. So it's not all plain sailing, but it's like with anything, you get out of what you put into it.
Of course. I mean, Trevor, would you agree with that? Obviously, you have both sides of it. You can talk with an independent hat on. We did 2 independent showrooms. How is business at the moment?
Well, since opening, which was 12 months ago, and we've hit target that we've set for the first year of the business for the Kutchenhaus franchise. So yes, it's been good. I'm not going to say it's been record breaking because it hasn't, but we've set perfectly reasonable targets and we've achieved them. So, but what's absolutely astounding, bearing in mind the amount of effort that we put into marketing RFK as a brand and how well established we are, Kutchenhaus just hit the ground running. It was in with a bullet. It was like scoring triple 20 twice on the trot. It staggered us because we're old hands. We know what we're doing. Yet we were completely taken, by surprise by the degree of success that the Kutchenhaus's national marketing would bring to us, both as a brand identity in general, but also to our own location. And that is still continuing to stagger us to this day.
Wow. Okay. And how does it all sort of fit in with the 2 businesses? Well, the 2 businesses and the 3 showrooms. How do they all fit together?
We've set up Kutchenhaus completely independently. It's its own identity. It has no functional control whatsoever at our head office in Rugby, apart from accounts. And that run as a separate accounts package is just run within the same department. But because of the nature of the franchise, we don't touch the product. All of the order processing, all of the distribution, the logistics, are all handled directly by Kutchenhaus. The order is taken in by them from the various suppliers, and it is then 2-man delivered direct to site on the day of our calling for our clients. We arrange relatively minor parts of the job, such as the work surfaces and flooring, maybe tiling where it's involved. Other than that, it's a complete operation that stands alone. And it saved us the extra warehouse space. It saved us the extra van. It saved us the extra van driver. It saved us administrative functions within the office. Yes, it's cost us money. Of course, it's cost us money. That's all built into the process. But it's a fee. And it's a fee that is, as you sell the job, then the fee gets taken. So if we don't sell a job, there's no fee. Whereas, of course, I would have had to have employed the driver. I would have had to have employed the member of staff, bought the van, and all of these elements, which would have added to the cost of establishing the new business. So overall, it's really well worthwhile.
Yeah, Trevor's just pointed out quite a number of pros. Any other pros that you can think of, James?
Mostly it's the brand. It's having the customer confidence in when they're spending large sums of money. They know you're not just a person on your own. There is a bigger entity behind you, which gives them a bit of confidence. The marketing side for us is probably the biggest thing. Kesseler do a lot of in-house marketing. They have their own team. I mean, this month alone, we've just hit 41 leads come through. I mean, we're mid to high end marketplace, so it shows the lower end market's gone, but the mid high end's really still there. Would we have got that on our own? I don't think we would. You've got the national campaigns, you've got your like the smaller campaigns around our area. I think it really is just having that bigger entity, like you say, the processes they put in place, software they provide, and general support. Like you're really not on your own. You've got, if you need anything, really, there's somebody you can speak to. If it's within the network or within the brand, you're kind of covered, really.
It's interesting you talk about the marketing side of it, because that, for a lot of independents, is really the dark art of running a business. So if you've got somebody or an organisation that already understands that and has it down to a T, then I guess that's just a huge benefit. What about cons then? What are the downsides, Imran?
I think it's quite a broad topic that area. See, when one thinks of franchise or franchising, you kind of think it's a conveyor belt sort of process, you plug and play sort of thing. And I guess with some of the other franchises in different sectors, it probably is, like in the food industry and so on. You're looking at just staff, everything's a set and done. I can't speak for the kitchen industry, but for bathrooms, there's just so many variables. So you do have standards there. There is an operating sort of procedure, manuals and that support, but you're still running an independent business, if that makes sense, with the support and under the shell of a franchise. And I guess it's the same for any other franchise as well. It's not going to be you flick a switch, put your feet up and it goes. No, you will get out of what you put into it. So there is a lot of hard work within that. And yeah, there is a lot of flexibility as well. Riffles as a brand and how they structure themselves, there is flexibility within that as well. There's support there as well. There is as much support as you need or as little as you need. That's up to you. And everybody's at a different point in that journey. So it's there if you need it. The disadvantages are, it all depends on expectations. What, as a new franchisee, what's your expectation? What are you looking for? But if you think there's an easy on-off switch, no, it doesn't work like that. It's like with any business. And the difference with an independent would be, it'll be a little bit harder, a little bit what James said earlier, the marketing aspect of it. I think a lot of people won't understand that. You've got to either have some sort of a background to marketing or insight into marketing to understand that, but that's a big part. And if you've got a dedicated cell that's actually working on that round the clock as a function or a department, that makes a big difference. So you have the national marketing and then you have what we do locally as well. And it's constant. You've got to do it constantly.
Trevor, what would you say? Imran's made some good points there.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's certainly in terms of cons, I would say from our point of view, it's trying to teach old dogs new tricks. We've got a modus operandi. We've been running a business quite successfully for literally decades. We're familiar with the software packages that we've chosen to use to help us manage that process. And it's all about face with Kutchenhaus. It's different products, different software systems, different management processes. And that's taken a little bit of getting our heads around. More so for my colleagues that are within the business than for our showroom manager at Kutchenhaus, because he's come in completely fresh and hasn't had his viewpoint tarnished by our way of doing things. He's not an RFK man, he's a Kutchenhaus man. But for us, being slightly on the outside, looking into the business, trying to manage him and manage the whole process, then yeah, it's we've gone from doing this to doing that.
I think we all know what you're saying there, but I guess it's hard to be told, actually, you've got to do it like this. But I guess it's just looking at things from a different perspective, and it's a learning curve.
Yeah, and I would also say that Kutchenhaus are growing hugely, and they're experiencing their own growing pains. And I think if you ask them, they'd be the first to admit it. And it has meant that there have been the odd pratfall that has taken place, which, with our knowledge of the internal workings of Nobilia, we could have potentially avoided. But we weren't allowed to. We had to go through the system. And it's like, we know what you're doing wrong, guys. You need to do this. And it was slightly falling on deaf ears for a little while, but they've got their act back together again now. And, we're more than happy with the level of service that we're getting.
Yeah, we've seen a real flurry of activity lately, like Magnet and Nolte, for instance, two kitchen brands that have launched franchise operations this year. Why do you think the franchise model seems to be gaining momentum in the UK? It's not new. We've had franchises in the industry for a long time. James, if you'd like to answer that one first, why do you think we're suddenly seeing this growth?
From a brand's perspective, I would imagine it's more, dare I say, cost-effective way for them to get their brand out there. And from the business owner's side of view, it's kind of like they're not a done-for-you package, but everything's already been worked out. They know what's good, they know what's bad, they know how to run things, how the startup costs are going to be, the setup costs are. If the hard work's done, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot of hard work to be done thereafter, but you're not going into it completely blind or naive to it. You've got somebody there going, right, when you're looking for a showroom, these are the kind of boxes you need to tick, the kind of investment you need to be is this, when you're going to need to take on staff, what staff. You've got that kind of overall guidance there. It's probably picked up a lot because the brands are getting bigger and the independents are seeing what they're going to get by going down that route. There's a lot more in the press, like Kutchenhaus, like United, is everywhere, which is great for them. There's loads, which is good. And that's probably picking up in the press a lot more. So that kind of influence is getting in there. It's a very European thing, franchising. And obviously the brands that are coming over are from Europe. So it is probably that influence as well.
Trevor, anything to add on that or echo what James has said?
I mean, back when I was writing an article for the magazine some years ago, one of the occasions that I said to the editor, I'm on holiday, I'm in France. And he said, well, go and write a piece about the French market then. So I did a piece that was called Je suis un cuisiniste. I don't know if you recall it, but go and find it. And I looked at the number of businesses in and around Carcassonne, and probably 2/3 of them were all franchises. And that was getting on for 10 years ago. And I thought then, do you know what? Why hasn't this happened in the UK? Perhaps it's going to. And I think I wrote a piece that was titled Beware of Sleeping Giants. And of course, what I was referring to was the rise of the franchise. So to a certain extent, exactly what I foresaw from the European market has come to pass in the UK market now. You know, I mean, brands, they spend a lot of money developing their brand identity, and for independent studios, we're a fickle bunch. You know, if I chose to drop the B here tomorrow, I could do. It'd cost me a few quid. I'd have to change some displays over, but I'd have lots of people knocking at my door wanting to replace them, keen to win my business. So all that effort from a manufacturer to get into my showroom, my independent showroom, could be lost for no blame, no fault of their own. Whereas if they've got the franchise model, they're much more in control. So they can grow the business as they want to. They can look at areas, target areas, and open businesses in those target areas and grow the network in a much more controlled way. And it makes perfect logical sense that they would do that. Now, from a consumer's point of view, of course, there's confidence in big brands. And as Imran has mentioned, you know, it's all about the brand nowadays. You know, I mean, I'd rather be an Apple dealer than an Alcatel dealer. I'm trying to think of some really random phone brand, because everybody wants an iPhone. And it's same now with home improvement products, with companies like Wren being so huge. And, you know, let's not dismiss them. You know, Wren are selling £30,000 kitchens every day of the week. And that's our target market as well. So it's important that we have an offer that is credible and competitive with that, but has the consumer's confidence. And of course, a big national brand like Kutchenhaus can give the consumer that level of confidence.
Imran, it's slightly different for you in the bathroom market because it tends to actually just be ripples. But why do you think brands have decided to launch franchise models now? Is it maybe inevitable in a tough market that you see more brands expanding down this route?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I personally think everybody's a bit behind in the UK in terms of franchising. I mean, if you look at the US, they're way ahead. It's all about franchise. And then they promote those franchises. If you sign up to a franchise, they want you to have clusters and then bigger. And that's how they make their empires, if you like. If you look at the UK, just coming away from KBB sector, you've got Wendy's, Taco Bell, they're all starting to enter the UK as well now, but they've been around for years. But franchising is big business in the US. So I think we're still way behind and coming more to this sector, and why that Magnet or, you know, Kesseler, why they've all chosen now. I think they want more market share. There's a lot out there. So people, I think in the sector, you've got the consumer where instead of moving, they're staying where they are, saving that transactional cost, investing in their properties. I still think they're a little bit behind. They could have done this a little bit sooner. But it's an extension strategy. How do you build that brand further? Franchising is one way. You've got more presence. They're bringing more people in, more awareness. So, yeah, it's getting bigger. So I think it's only going to get bigger. It'll probably be, I think, more people. I think there's more players that probably need to come forward, and they probably will. The models are there. And, you know, from a franchisee's perspective, it's security, everything we've talked about earlier. It's more security. So I think there's plenty of people out there.
James, I'll come to you with this one. So do you think franchise models then are the future for bricks and mortar KBB retailing in the UK?
I think there will always be the independents. Market share will probably go over to the franchises. There'll be some, such as Trevor, that's been around for a very long time and very well experienced and will still want their own brand as such being there. Like Imran was saying, there's a lot bigger players out there that probably will come to the market. The fact that Magnet have taken that step and gone that way may open up the gates for others and bring names that aren't as well known into the forefront as well. I think it's a very good way of doing it. It's a very good structure, and it protects the businesses and it protects the consumers at the same time, which is very important these days. Like the way COVID hit everything, people need that support and want that support, and I think that's the same going forward as well.
Trevor, same question to you.
As James has said, there's always going to be room for the independent, but I think the independent is going to have to become far more specialised than perhaps they have been in the past. I use our own example. Certainly at our head office show, we need to consider going much more upmarket than perhaps we have been in the past, and to set ourselves apart from certain parts of the market. Getting people through your door is a tough gig nowadays, and having a franchise model really helps get bums on seats.
And Imran, over to you on the last word on that. Do you think franchise models are the future for the KBB sector?
I think definitely. It's the biggest grey area or sticky area, the installation side of things, definitely in the bathroom side. So the consumer, they need that confidence. So I think definitely there's going to be more growth, or there should be more growth there, but it will also depend on the quality of the franchisee as well. That would make a big difference. You need the right people within that. Ripple certainly has a selection and matching sort of criteria, and I'm assuming it will be the same with all the other models as well. So I think you need the right people. I think it's definitely the way forward. It will help with the confidence for the consumer as well. I think that is the way forward.
Thank you ever so much for your time, guys. Again, it's a fascinating topic, and I think we could have probably been here all day talking about it, but the clock's beaten us. Thank you ever so much for your time, and speak to you all soon. Thank you.